Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So I haven't done a back to basics video for a while, being that there was a lot of new content. But I also know that a lot of new players have joined this channel, and so thank you very much for watching my channel, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content. And for everyone who stayed this long, thank you very much for continuing to watch my channel. Anyways, in this video we're just going to go over another dungeon and why you should actually go through it, and also a lot of people have been asking about how to grind light or shadow for story characters or characters that you get for free. So I'm just going to bring up basically every story or free character and show you kind of the dungeon at which they should grind light or shadow. And the reason for that mainly is you can't get extra light or shadow any other way other than grinding it. And as you get more light or more shadow, you can either bring in those characters to help you make the minimum requirements for light or shadow for rewards, or in this case, you can actually boost stats for main characters as you get to certain milestones. So the first dungeon we're going to go for, obviously, is the main character Aldo. And you would go to Meglin's Castle very hard. Now, if you do use green keys instead and go to the hard version, which you might do, especially when you first start it and have access to this, keep in mind that you don't get access to another dungeon until after chapter 10, I believe. And of course, Amy is for Industrial Ruins. So, use your green keys if you need to. After you finish part 1 of the story, which is chapter 25, then you'll be able to use your red keys. Now, for Man-Eating Marsh, that relates to Cyrus. Keep in mind that Cyrus later on becomes a 5-star, for those who don't have it, and you'll need to grind 10 Psalms here as well to upgrade him to 5-star. So you can grind his light while getting his Psalms at the same time, which is not a bad deal. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is Rika, and we can get her light in Xenodomain. Now this is similar to Cyrus in the fact that you can also grind her 10 Psalms in order to upgrade her to 5-star here while getting the light as well. Now I forgot to mention that for Cyrus's Man-Eating Marsh, you will need Shadow Team in order to unlock all the rewards. For hard dungeons, you'll need 96. For very hard dungeons, you need 120, and again, it depends on whether or not you have light or shadow. Now for Deidre, you'll have to go to Unigan and go to Deidre's dungeon to grind her shadow. Keep in mind that in Japan, she becomes extra powerful once she becomes a 5-star as well. So some of you might want to prepare ahead of time, or if you have extra keys and you want to do that, or if you're a fan favorite of Deidre, you can do that as well. Now Jade also becomes a 5-star later on in Japan, and so you'll have to grind his shadow there in Saki's Dream World. Keep in mind that you'll have to do side quests in order to unlock these characters. So if you're really new to the game, you won't actually have all these characters until you get through different points of the story. For example, Deidre has a side quest, IDA Part 1 would unlock Jade, and so on and so forth. Now, in this next batch of heroes, we're going to show you, how to get those lights or shadows and which dungeons to go for. Now bear in mind as well, a lot of this information can be Googled, and one of the best websites to go through is Miraheze, M-I-R-A-H-E-Z-E. Riftbreaker is for Helena. Now the great thing about Helena is, even though she's a shadow unit, this dungeon only requires light. So if you have 120 light and you bring Helena along, you can grind her shadow. So again, green keys have a 10% chance of getting light or shadow for that particular character, and red keys have a 20% chance. So for Mayu's Dream World, of course, you can grind Saki. Now, you can see I have the AS form, which you only unlock after doing 5 battles and battling that cradle system. A lot of these boss battle fights, if you haven't come across them yet, you can watch my playlist. I have a lot of playlists on how to beat these bosses in order to unlock some of these optional heroes and content. Now, Dragon Palace, obviously, you can get Sheila's light. Sheila's light there. So you can grind that there and start your months and months of fishing if you so choose to get Livia or Leviathan to beat Leviathan for some extra stones. Keep in mind that fishing does have a lot of grind. However, it also has a lot of Chronostone rewards. Now, much later in the story, in Ogre Wars, I guess part 2, I want to say, you can grind Gil. Actually, no. Ogre Wars Part 1. You can grind for Gilna's shadow here. This dungeon does require a shadow team of 120 if you want to do very hard. And you also grind all those psalms here. Now, for many of us, we've already upgraded him to 5 stars. However, keep in mind that if you want to get all the upgraded VCs, Grastas, you'll have to come back here and get more of those. And for Beast King's Castle very hard, Fane is the one you'll be grinding for Shadow. This is another dungeon where you need a Shadow team in order to get all the rewards. One thing to note here is that you do get a lot of armor that is actually pretty decent to carry you through between Ogre Wars Part 2 as well as the Eastern region. And they're pretty easy to farm, so pretty good stats. For many of you newer players as well, I still recommend that you will use your green keys as often as you can, obviously. And you'll have to go through each dungeon a couple of times anyways, because my goal is always to collect one of each gear, and each different dungeon has different gear in order to drop to craft. And if you craft more of them and own more of them, then you'll unlock collection rewards, which will give you Chronos Stones as well. Dogma Tower, of course, is for our favorite Napau, which is Poporo. And again, later on in the story, when you do the side quest for the Azure Rebel, you will get Galliard 4-star, and he can be grinding his shadow in former KNS HQ. Now, bear in mind that if you see some dungeons that have a name on it, usually that means you have to actually bring that character into your team when you are going to that dungeon. Now, most of them don't have character requirements. It's only that if you don't bring it, you won't get anything. So you will have to have that character in your team in order to grind Shadow or Light. For present Garrelia, which is after chapter 55, you will use 2 green keys to get Azami's Light here. And keep in mind that with the Garrelia ones, either Antiquity or present Garrelia, you will need a total of 360 Light or Shadow in order to lock all 5 reward slots. Also, it has a 25% chance of getting Shadow or Light as opposed to the 20% chance from a red key. And finally, Antiquity is for Garrelia Garyu OG, where you can upgrade him for his Shadow. Now, one other couple of things I want to note is that in some dungeons, in areas 2, there is a rare horror that you can fight. And keep in mind that because the dungeon only has a 10% chance of showing a rare area in area 2, if you do come across those horrors, you want to beat them down, because especially in the later stages, you will need multiple drops from these horrors in order to grind some of the most rare items to craft armor in the game. Now, some of these armors aren't as powerful now as they were before, but again, for collection purposes, you might as well, since you're grinding for Light or Shadow anyways. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.